World over, all our brothers and sisters, those are joining us from different countries, different continents, different time zone, different conditions. But world is getting a better place now. I think things are improving quite a bit. But at the same time, when I learned from a couple of people from the ASEAN this evening at 3 p.m. webinar that the third wave is striking some of the countries, that's not a good kind of an input. We pray to Almighty, things should be all right, things should be fine, and the world should come to a normal pace, like conveyed by Mr. Shekhar Gupta in his Cut the Clutter yesterday, that 90 days, the thing should be fine as far as India is concerned. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 461st webinar, Making Education Relevant, series on empowering micro, small, and the medium enterprise. And this evening, we have got a very distinguished guest with us, Mr. A.K. Aggarwal ji. He is advocate and ex-banker. We extend a very warm welcome on behalf of Shri Ravindranath ji, the chairman, micro, small, and the medium enterprise, ICSI, and formerly the CMD of the NSIC under the aegis of MSME. It's a pleasure, and let me quickly roll over to a couple of slides so that I hand you over to Shri Ravindranath ji. Our chamber, since 1994, confluence of the non-resident Indian, 2003 Bharatiya Parvasi Divas, and the good news is at present there are 5 virtual summits are going on of the NRIs, and 9th of January 2021 you will have the next virtual Parvasi Bharatiya Divas. Right, ladies and gentlemen, our chamber is organizing at present approximately 26 webinar programs, interactions globally on different themes. You think about youth, you think about teachers, educators, vice chancellor, directors, professors, counselors, technocrats. You talk about water management from Singapore, Swami Vivekananda's teaching from Chicago, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and India's main principal Upanishad from America, India ASEAN program at 3 p.m. आज का युवा क्या चाहता है, motivational talk for all the youth, and Ayurveda for your global wellness, and of course, what is the purpose of education? Why to take education? Why to go to school, college, university, skills, competencies, whatsoever you want to acquire, there is a specific purpose. And if there is an economic purpose, cultural purpose, social purpose, personal purpose, but there is an objective, there is a purpose. And let's focus on micro, small, and the medium enterprise purpose. 5 p.m. Sunday evening, wonderful evening. And this could be the most fruitful because everybody waits from Monday to Saturday when the Sunday comes and we hear what is startup, what is stand-up, what is MSME, what new has come in MSME, how MSME is being helped, how MSME is being empowered, what new pedagogies, andragogies, strategies, innovation, policy, what all is coming through. And after this, at 8 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, you have got non-resident Indian from world over coming closer to India through the ICSI, where we hold the deliberation, discussions, everything related to empowering education ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, we extend you all a very warm welcome. It's a pleasure to have all of you for this particular series. We start in the morning at 9 and we finish at 9 p.m. in the evening. 12 hours throughout the day, you have got the beaming. Now here is the micro, small, and the medium enterprise when we talk about. And here is the ministry. And here are the special contacts and everything related for the youth and what all benefits government is giving to MSMEs. And during this particular program of the MSME, we had various programs. And 15th of August, we brought the MSME from the wellness and holistic healing sector. Thereafter, we moved to very specially a special zone where we had entrepreneurship and management sector skill council with us, Colonel Anil Kumar Pokhriyal and other dignitaries. And thereafter, nowadays, we are with the Media Entertainment Sector Skill Council, once again, the MSME sector. Everywhere there is a buzzword MSME, what we talk about. Then Every Friday evening, right from Singapore, we bring you a special series on water management. And the other day, the Honorable Minister, State for Jal Shakti India, along with Arushi Nishang Panji, the Sparsh Ganga head, she was with us. Then Saturday, we go to Chicago, Swami Vivekananda's teachings. And Saturday also at 6:30 p.m., we have got a special program for you that is related to Ayurveda. Sunday morning, we go to Woodbury University, California, USA, where from you have got a live telecast on your journey Vidya se Adhyatam Vidya ki Aur. What exactly is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and India's principal Upanishad in today's education ecosystem? And 3 p.m., we bring you series from ASEAN. Just before this program we had. And after this program, 8 p.m., we will be taking you to United States. Today, Professor Sarath Menon is coming, Department of Sociology, University of Houston, and he's going to talk to us on new education policy and education sociology. That is after this program. During this pandemic, our chamber has carried out the data analysis and the synthesis, and what we have found, the new order for the world is the new golden triangle is not Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, but it is going to be food, health, and education. And B2B is no more business to business. It is back to basics, sustainable development of the world. So ladies and gentlemen, whatsoever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Under the dynamic and dedicated leadership of Shri Rabindranath Ji, the chairman, our MSME sector, and former CMD NSIC, we bring this special evening for all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by Shri Anil Kumar Aggarwal Ji, the advocate and former banker, total experience of 40 years in having served for 4 PSUs, namely Union Bank of India, IFCI, New Delhi, Allahabad Bank, and of course, NSIC, National Small Scale Industries Corporation, 13 years. Took up the responsibility to guide nearly 250 branches of the Union Bank of India in the legal matters, including cases pending in the civil, revenue in High Court, and recovered crores of stuck dues of the bank. Served Allahabad Bank for 18 years and rose to the position of senior management, scale 5, and as head of the asset recovery branches at Allahabad, Mumbai, Delhi, closely looked after the recovery cases pending in the DRTs, high courts, and other places. Served NSIC for 13 years as head of the legal department and also as a consultant law and recovery up to 2019. During this period, total amount had debit, of around 100 crores was recovered through follow-up of cases of corruption in all the courts across the country. In addition, also scrupulously followed up the cases pending before the different micro small enterprise facilitation council for the logical conclusion. Presently doing legal practice at New Delhi. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending a very hearty welcome to Shri Aggarwal Ji, and I hand over the floor to Rabindranath Ji.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you just heard Dr. Gulshan Sharma say that this is the 461st webinar of our chamber, ICSI. And this is all what we started from 5th of June 2020. Reaching 461 has been possible due to the indefatigable spirit and stamina of Dr. Gulshan Sharma and team ICSI, and the profound love which has been poured on us from all across the world. We are all indeed grateful to all of you, sir, and my special mention to Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji, because without him, we could not have been able to reach across to the people all across. And we have been doing programs of MSMEs covering various diverse issues. And Dr. Saab, one of the questions which very often, especially these youngsters have been raising on us is, सब business तो करते हैं, पैसे की बड़ी दिक्कत होती है. The challenge comes when we don't get the money in time. And that is where we took this very important issue, the challenge of delayed payments to micro and small enterprises, and the provisions of MSMED Act. And the moment I thought of this topic on the behest, on the asking of these MSMEs with whom we have been interacting, there was only one person who immediately came to my mind, and that was our Shri Anil Aggarwal Sahab, who is not only a very senior advocate, but a highly experienced banker. Anilji, thank you so much for sparing your time and joining us today to share your experience, to share your knowledge, and to share, and we would be guided by you on such an important topic. So thank you very much, sir. I also take this opportunity to welcome all the participants from all across India and also abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to all of you. In times of this pandemic, please stay safe, please stay healthy, and don't forget, we all must be happy. The challenge of these delayed payments and the structure of the Indian MSME sector is very well correlated. If I may just share the latest data of the MSME sector, which is as per the figures available on the Ministry of MSME. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 63 million MSMEs in our country. But when we talk of 63 million, the fact which really stands out is almost 95% of these enterprises are micro enterprises and 4.8% are the small category. I'm talking about the definition which was there prior to the revision of definition which has come. So almost 99.8% are micro and small enterprises. Perhaps 0.2% are classified as medium. And I'm not having a different view that with the change in the definition, things will be much different. It will almost be within the range of micro and small again, looking at the turnover business which has been kept as per the new definitions. But we all agree that the small businesses are the backbone of any nation. Even when we look across the world, we find whether it is Germany, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, all of them are being served by the SMEs, they call what we call MSMEs in our country. And it is all accepted world over that small business is big business. Why do I say this? Because it's these MSMEs who play such a pivotal role in the socio-economic development of the country, contributing to the employment generation, contributing to the inclusive industrialization, and economic empowerment of the backward areas. Sir, this and all what we say, because this sector holds its strengths for on-demand manufacturing services. Look at the pandemic, sir. The demand was for these PP kits, face masks, various other items. Who stood up and who came forward? I believe largely it was these MSMEs. So on-demand manufacturing services, they're very quick and responsive to the innovations, and they are the well-established value-added supply chains. Look across anybody. If India is being sought after as a destination for manufacturing, everybody knows in the world that the MSMEs of our country are the well-established supply chains. But then, now look at the challenges. When we know that these MSMEs can prove to be well-established value-added supply chains, it is these units which really face the challenge of market access, amongst other challenges, finance, skilled manpower, infrastructure, etc., which all go to dwarf their growth potential. So while they are accepted to be well-established value-added supply chains, they still face the challenge of market access. It is also being accepted that robust supply relationships with PSUs can be built, even with large enterprises, to address this issue of adequate market access linkages for the micro and small enterprises. We also believe that large companies working with MSMEs are able to reduce the lead times their inventories and logistic costs. And greater and better industrial integration plays a major role for making any country more efficient and competitive. It is with these things in mind that the government came up with their public procurement policy, wherein they desired that 25% of the purchases by any CPSU or any government department have to take place from micro and small enterprises, keeping special targets for the women enterprises, for the enterprises from the SC and ST sector, the category. And even to facilitate all this so that people know, the small enterprises know as to where are these purchases being made, what are the purchases being made, the Ministry of MSME started this portal called the MSME Sambandh. And if you just look at the figures are available on the portal of the Ministry of MSME about MSME Sambandh, in 2019-20, 136 CPSUs showed their figures of total procurement to be 1,24,000 crores. And in 2021, the figure has suddenly dropped to 56,000 crores. 110 CPSUs have put in. And when we look at the procurements from the micro and small enterprises, in 2019-20, it was 38,387, whereas in 2021, it was 18,478, benefiting about 1,57,000 in 2019-20 and 86,200 in 2020-21. So a large segment of these enterprises, they got benefited from all these purchases and all this, what you call the data and the information which was made available by the Ministry of MSME. But then, so far so good, people got benefited, but the benefit didn't come in terms of the timely payments. And we all agree that one of the major issues of survival of the micro and small enterprises especially is positive cash flow and unhindered liquidity. We would have all heard that even during the pandemic, one of the concerns of the government was that the liquidity to all these small enterprises should be made so that they do not have problems in paying their labor. When the factories were down, at least the liquidity should be there. But not getting the payment on time, it limits the working capital available with the MSEs to carry on their day-to-day operations and meet their procurement orders. As per a study by one of the companies, it has been found that if SMEs are paid within the time limits prescribed under the MSMED Act, their profitability will go up by almost 15%. They would stand to gain to the extent of 15% in terms of profitability simply by getting their payments in time. And it is that for that reason, for ensuring, for helping the micro and small enterprises, that the Ministry of MSME came up with the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. And it is in this act that I believe section 15 to 24 deal with issues of delayed payments. Our guest, our expert in the evening today will be dwelling upon all this in greater details. But I would just like to add, before I invite my friend, Mr. Anil Aggarwal, before I invite him, I'd just like to share that government further facilitated the micro and small enterprises who are finding it difficult to get these payments, and they were running from pillar to post, that they started this portal of MSME Samadhan on 30th of October 2017, where the ministry said that the aggrieved MSE suppliers can file a complaint regarding delayed payments before they actually come to the concerned MSEFC, Micro Small Enterprises Facilitation Council of his or her state, and then such MSEs, the micro and small enterprises, can check the status of their complaints on the portal. This is a very big benefit which has been given. And when I was looking at the portal, I found that with effect from 30th of October 2017, the cases filed on this portal are 20,805, involving an amount of 7,777 crores. And the cases disposed of so far are 4,970, involving an amount of 817 crores, which means that's still a very sizable number. Almost 6,900 crores worth of amount payable is still stuck with these facilitation councils. But Anilji, what I would like you to really share with our people, because majority of them, sir, they do not know that there is such an act available. They also do not know whether they need to be registered or they can do it even otherwise. And they do not know their rights, which are available as per the provisions of the MSMED Act, and whether, if when the buyer doesn't make them payment on time, what needs to be done, do they get the interest, and all these things happen. There are a host of issues which these MSME of ours have been literally posing us. And I'm sure, sir, you have been handling cases not only in the High Court, but even up to the Supreme Court, where all these cases have been flagged. And since you have been looking from different aspects, the buyers, the suppliers, the facilitators, I would be very grateful to you if you can share with our audience today as to how these acts can prove to be a panacea when it comes to the delayed payments. So with these words, sir, I would like to hand over to Shri Anil Aggarwal ji for his introductory remarks. And then we have quite a few questions with us, which our participants have shared. We would be posing them and seeking guidance from you. Thank you. And over to you, Anil ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I'm thankful to Sharma ji. I'm thankful to Mr. Ravindranath ji, ex-CMD NSIC, for giving me an opportunity. So I'm really thankful, and good evening to all. Sir, Mr. Ravindranath ji has pointed out the liquidity and cash flow problems which are being faced by micro and small and medium enterprises. I know Government of India has brought out this enactment which is known as Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006, which came into operation with effect from 2nd October 2006. It repealed the earlier act. Now, the earlier act was interest on delayed payment to ancillary to small scale and ancillary undertakings act 1993. This act was repealed and the present MSMED Act 2006 has been brought in place. Now, I will like to take back what was the necessity of having bring out a new act while the earlier act was in operation. The earlier act, which was effective since year 1993, it remained operative till 2006 until the new MSMED Act came into operation. Now, the justification was so many because the earlier act was not that exhaustive, and in fact, there was a requirement felt that there should be an exhausted single legal framework that should cover the entire MSMED sector, that should cover and that should provide the promotional and development opportunities to this sector. And besides other, you see, the free flow of credit. I mean, there should be free flow of credit because this sector has always been facing the fund crunch. Maybe that whatever funds are available with them, sometimes they are stuck up in the litigation if they don't get their money back from their buyers. So some sort of enactment was required. Beside this, there was no definition given to the medium sector because world over it was felt the world industries should be shifted and the word enterprise should be taken into consideration. So taking into consideration that aspect, the definition of micro, small and medium enterprise was felt that it should be also included in the act. And taking into all this, that state and central government, they should have more powers so that they liberalize certain policies which benefit the procurement of the goods which are produced by micro, small and medium enterprises. And not only the goods, whatever they are produced, even the services rendered by that sector are taken into use so that they get whatever they produce, whatever the services they tender, they are given the opportunities and then they get the, value for their services and the goods produced. So keeping in this mind, the present act, this was brought into operation. Now, this act is a very exhaustive piece of operation. Besides other provisions, the main emphasis it has brought on the recovery, it has provided a help to the micro and small units, because the main aspect is once they have supplied the goods or they have rendered the services, then the buyers sometimes they hesitate to make the payment. So these mandatory provisions have been brought by this act, and now it is seen that despite the fact this act has come into operation, most of the micro and small unit are still failing to take the advantage of the provisions contained in the MSMED Act, which really take care of the interest of these units, micro and small units, to recover their money, which is struck up despite the fact the provisions are there. So, sir, I would like to concentrate on those provisions because they can really help. Mr. Ravindranath just pointed out that huge funds are still stuck up in the litigation before the Industrial Facilitation Council, which has been constituted practically in all the states, which are taking up these cases on war footing. But still, since micro and small units are still not conversant with the provisions of this act, that entails delay and the advantage is not really coming to them. So I will take up the important and the redeeming features of these provisions and the totality, what could be the benefit which can be taken out by the micro and small units to recover their, money which is held up with the buyers.
Your presentation is on, Anilji. Can we start with the first slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can we, Sharma ji, come back to the supplier slide?
Yes, we can start with the first slide.
Yes, sir.
अग्रवाल साहब, अगर आप स्क्रीन पर देखें तो आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन स्क्रीन पर है, जो वर्ल्ड ओवर लोग देख रहे हैं, तो हम यहां से ही रेफर कर सकते हैं जी.
हाँ जी, हाँ सर.
हाँ जी, प्लीज.
Now, supplier section 2A. The goods are primarily, I will like to make it clear, sir. It's a two-party agreement. There is a supplier and a buyer. So the definition of the supplier is provided under section 2N of the Act. If you kindly see the slide, sir, they say, the Act makes it very clear. Supplier means any micro or small enterprise which has filed a memorandum with the authority. Now, in place of the memorandum, we have a Udyog Aadhar. So this supplier here means under the Act, under these provisions, micro and small. And besides this, it also includes, it's very important that it also includes 3 categories which are taken as supplier. Because I will explain these things, the effect of all these provisions later on also. But for the purpose of explanation, it should be understood that supplier not only means micro and small, but the act has included three types of organizations. First is National Small Industries Corporation Limited. It's a government company, a company registered under the Companies Act. Then the second category of the organization is the Small Industries Development Corporation of the state or the center, whatever name by which it is called, but it is registered under the Companies Act. Again, it is neither a manufacturer nor a micro or small unit, small enterprise, but still it is a supplier because it is facilitating the goods of, goods produced by the micro and small enterprises. Then there is a third organization which can be any company or a cooperative society or a trust or any other body which is duly registered under the law for the time being in force, and which is engaged in the selling of goods or providing services. So here I would like to say that supplier should mean primarily the micro and or small enterprise which has a udyog Aadhaar to have their identity which is issued to them. Beside that, I explained that there are three organizations also. This is very important to understand. Three organizations are also taken as the supplier. So basically, though they are supplier, but later on I'll explain that their role is more of a facilitator. They basically facilitate whatever is produced by other micro or small units. So they help them in selling their products or providing their services to the others. So this is the definition of the supplier. Who is supplier? This is very important because supplier will supply the goods or render the services, and it is the buyer who has to make the payment. So the definition of the supplier carries lot of importance under this act. Next, please. Now, meaning of day of acceptance. Now, acceptance, again, it has been defined what we mean by acceptance. Once the goods have been supplied, the day of acceptance under section 2 means the day of the acceptance of delivery of the goods as or rendering of the services. Acceptance wherever the goods are supplied or the services are rendered and there is no objection. So this would mean the acceptance of the goods. Now there is a, wherever any objection is made in writing by the buyer regarding the acceptance of the goods or services rendered within 15 days from the date of those delivery of the goods or rendering of the services, then that objection has got to be removed. So I will explain this. Now, whenever there is a delivery of the goods or the services are rendered, but the buyer makes some objection, so that objection has got to be removed within maximum period of 15 days from the date of delivery or from rendering of the services. This would mean the acceptance. One is the acceptance and another is the deemed acceptance. Now, next, the day of deemed acceptance is where no objection has been made in writing. Now, there may be a case where no objection is made. Now, in case there no objection is made, then the acceptance would come by the expiry of the 15 days of the delivery. That is, they have a extra 15 days of credit. This means deemed acceptance. Next, please.
One slide back, Sharma sir.
Back, sir, back.
Yeah, that's all.
Now, most important is the liability of the buyer to make payment. What is the time limit for the buyer? The supplier has supplied the goods. The supplier has supplied the goods or rendered the services. Now, section 15 is very important. It says that the buyer shall make payment on or before the date agreed upon between the buyer and the seller, buyer and the supplier of the goods in writing. Obviously, whenever there is a contract, the supplier between the buyer and the supplier, sometimes they agree for a date on which it is to be supplied. So the payment thereof has got to be made by the buyer on or before the agreed date. So agreed date will be the time limit for making the payment. Now there is a proviso. Once we say they have agreed in writing, provided that once they have agreed, but they should not agree, they cannot agree, rather it is mandatory, they cannot agree for a period exceeding 45 days. So maximum 45 days period is provided to make the payment. In case it is agreed between the party, they cannot agree for more than 45 days. Again, the buyer will get 45 days credit. And wherever there is no agreement as far as the date of payment is concerned, then this payment has to be made on the appointed date. Now the appointed date is very important. Wherever there is no date is agreed between the buyer and the supplier, this appointed date practically means the day which is immediately expiring after 15 days of these actual services of actual day of the supply of the goods or having rendered the service, meaning thereby the appointed day will come after lapse of 15 days from the expiry of the actual supply or delivery of the goods or rendering of the services. So this appointed day becomes very important when there is no agreement as to when the payment is to be made. There is no objection as to when the payment is to be made. Next, please. This I have already covered. So this is nothing but synthesis of section 15 and 16. For the convenience, I will just say that now these are the four situations between the buyer and the supplier when there is no agreement for the payment, then the date of delivery becomes the deemed acceptance and the payment has got to made 15 days of the delivery. Now there may be a second situation when there is no agreement, but the buyer has some objection to accept the goods, then the deciding date will be date of acceptance. That will be 15 days from the delivery. He has to remove those and the day of acceptance is again 15 days. So here he will get 30 days credit. Now there may be agreement between the buyer and the supplier as to the when the payment has to be made, but the proviso to the section says that it cannot agree for more than 45 days. This is very important. It should not exceed, I had explained earlier also. So in a way, the net effect would be, there would be 40 days of delivery. So in a way, he gets 45 days of credit. The buyer gets 45 days of credit. Now there may be an agreement to make the payment, but then there is a query, there is an objection for the acceptance. Query may be to the quality or some other objection as far as goods are concerned. Then the maximum period of 45 days plus grace period, they have to remove that objection within 15 days. So in totality, the buyer would be getting 60 days period and the payment has got to be made within the period of 60 days. This is how this period will prevail. Now, the consequences of failure. Now, there may be a chance that the buyer, fails to make the payment. Then what action can be taken? Now, wherever any borrower fails to make the payment amount to the supplier as required under section 15, the buyer shall the buyer will pay. Now the question comes, he has not paid the principal amount. So the buyer will have to make the payment after the due date. Due date here would mean after the, the agreed period, the interest will start. So interest will start and interest has got to be paid at the bank rate. Now this bank rate as is notified by RBI, and it is 3 times the total interest for the delayed period. He has to make payment 3 times of the bank rate and compounding with monthly rates. So this is a pressure being put up on the buyer that he must make the payment. Otherwise, section 60 says he will have to pay 3 times of the bank rate, mind it, and it is being compounded with monthly rest. So this provision should be very clear to micro and small units. They should take care that once the payment is delayed, then the stipulated period under section 15, then under section 16, the buyers, they are liable to pay, and these are the statutory provisions which will help the suppliers to get their principal amount along with delayed interest, and they should be very careful that interest is 3 times of the bank rate and being compounded with monthly rest. Now presently the bank rate is 4.25%. So just see the 3 times, it will be huge interest they can get, which will compensate their all troubles that they have faced in not getting the amount. So they have to be very careful about this, because this bank rate also keeps on changes. They need to be very careful about this. Then recovery of, now come to say they have already defaulted in paying the buyer has defaulted in paying the principal amount, and so the interest on delayed payment is also due. So for both, that is for the principal amount as well as the delayed interest at the rate which I have told under section 16, 3 times of the bank rate compounded on monthly risk, then they can take action under section 17. This is very important. They can take the recourse for recovery of that, so as to have their better liquidity and they do not get hurt as far as their working capital funds are concerned. Next, please. Now, most important is MSC Facilitation Council. Any party to a dispute may with regard to the amount due. Now, amount due under section 17, I have told you, it will be both principal amount of the goods as well as the services or the services rendered by the micro and small. I will emphasize here, these provisions are related, basically when I talk about this, is related only to micro small. The act has not included the medium in the definition of the supplier. So this section 16 and 17 and 18, when I say facilitation council, so it will be all applicable to the delayed payment of micro and small units. And they can go for before the Industrial Facilitation Council, Micro Small Enterprises Facilitation Council. This is being set up. I'll come later on to this part. What exactly is this Micro Small Enterprises Facilitation Council? It will facilitate to decide the matter so that the micro and small enterprises, they get back their principal amount as well as the interest on the delayed payment. The council shall conduct conciliation and also under the provisions of this Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1956 under section 65 to section 81. The proceedings to be conducted by the Industrial Facilitation will be as applicable under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. So And whereas the conciliation proceeding fails, the council shall take up the dispute for arbitration under the provisions of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. So, summarily, I will like to say, Enterprises Facilitation Council under Section 18 of the Act can take up the issues relating to the payment of principal amount of the goods and the services rendered, and also the interest on the delayed payment. So such action can be divided into two parts. First is the conciliation proceedings. Conciliation proceedings is nothing but one interested party can ask the other party, that is the supplier can ask the buyer to come for a conciliation. That is, they have to settle down their dues, they can conciliate the matter, they can file an application, but this conciliation is possible only when the other party, because it is the supplier who wants to have his funds back, whatever funds he has invested for making the supply or renting services, even the interest on the delayed payment. So for that matter, if we want to have the reconciliation proceedings, he will have to have the consent of the buyer. So conciliation will be possible only when the buyer is prepared to come for some conciliation, some settlement. So if he is not ready, the buyer is not ready or willing to come for conciliation, obviously the other part of the solution is left with Industrial Facilitation Council is that they start the arbitration proceedings. Arbitration proceedings are conducted in the similar way as are conducted under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. This is very important. And now all states, I will come later on, the constitution of the Industrial Facilitation Council and the procedure which is taken up before the Industrial Facilitation Council. By this mode, what I want to emphasize is that this mechanism is available, a special mechanism is available, a summary proceeding is available to expedite their funds stuck up with the buyers, provided they approach Industrial Facilitation Council. Yes, please. Next. Now, you see, all state governments, they have established already Micro Small Enterprises Facilitation Council for settlement of disputes on getting reference being filed for payment of the principal amount and interest on their delayed payment. MSEFC, that is IFCs of the state, after establishing the after examining the case, they have the proceedings under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, and any micro or small enterprises having valid udyog Aadhaar, they can definitely apply before the arbitration. And if the appellant, not being the supplier, wants to file an appeal, now, before I come for appeal, the proceedings are taken up by IFC. They are basically like all arbitration proceedings. Now here I will like to share, because Mr. Ravindranath pointed out there is a huge number of cases involving huge amount are pending before IFC. The Act provides that the IFC has to decide the matter within a period of 90 days. But because of so many factors, the matters are by and large, if we take a practical view of the things, the matters which are pending before IFC, they are much more longer than period of 90 days. Now the pendency, now with my experience, I can say there are various reasons why the matters are pending for such a long. Though IFCs are working, they are listing the matter very, quickly for hearing and all that. But I have seen at number of places, I had the chance to attend the cases before IFC, Cuttack, Jamshedpur and Calcutta, that the claims which are filed by the buyer, micro and small units, the claim are without proper evidences. The proper evidence would mean that, as the law of evidence says, he who knocks the door is the first to prove their claim. So if the buyer has to establish its claim, it must file all the relevant documents and evidence. Now, documents would obviously mean the agreements, the purchase orders, and invoices, bills, receipted challan, which will provide enough proof that the goods were dispatched by them as per the terms of the agreement, whatever the agreement was there between the supplier and the buyer, because covenants are going to play a vital role, whatever covenants were there in the agreements being entered into. So all these documents are sometimes not provided well in time, which entails delay, as a result of which the directions are given by IFC that you file more documents, statement of account. So all these process takes long time, much longer than 90 days, and that delays the proceeding. So my submission would be to all the units who has their cases pending before micro and small uh, facilitation councils, that they ensure that all the documents, all the contracts are filed before the facilitation council while they file their claims against the buyers, so that there is no delay in the matter. And then, now coming to the appeal, say some appeal has to be filed. The the buyer is not satisfied with the order. Here one has to be careful. Yes, please. Next. The buyer has to deposit at least 75% of the total dues. There is a provision that he has to deposit 75% of the amount awarded. Now, under Section 34 of the Arbitration Act, that award can be challenged in the court. The award is given by IFC. It can be challenged by the court, and wherever the courts have the original jurisdiction, because in some states the original jurisdiction is with the district judge, so appeal would lie with the district judge. And in the courts which were under the presidency courts, Calcutta and other metropolitan towns, there we have to see that the appeal will have to be filed before the Honorable High Court. And before filing, they will have to deposit at least 75% of the dues. So there will be two parts. In case you are challenging some legal aspects, then it has to be agitated by means of a writ petition in the High Court. Otherwise, if you are only challenging the amount awarded, then you have to go before the court, maybe district court or the High Court, whatever is the original jurisdiction of the court. So you have to take care, because buyers must keep in mind that depositing 75% is quite a burden and very difficult. There may be huge amount. So please take care that, all these settlements are done. Now, what I want to submit here, out of my experience, I have seen that though the cases are delayed, but prompt action again is required on the part of supplier. Hello.
Please go ahead. Please go
continue.
ahead.
Please
Please go
continue,
ahead.
Anilji.
Yeah.
Sir, I've lost the.
नहीं, please go ahead. आपकी स्लाइड उतनी ही थी हमारे पास.
हाँ जी, हाँ, ठीक है सर.
हाँ जी.
जी. So, I have seen, sir, the framing of the, the claim applications has to be filed well in time. And now there would be, I was referring to section 9, section of the act, where I told about the definition of supplier. Now supplier, I told, means any micro or small enterprises which has Udyog Aadhar. Now here what has happened, that 3 categories of organizations has also been taken as supplier, like NSIC, like the National Small Industries Corporation, Small Industries Corporation, or any other company or a cooperative society or any other body or a trust which is engaged in the selling of the goods produced by micro small unit, even that is taken as a supplier. So in fact, these basically acting as a facilitator, because they are neither the producer, they are neither the manufacturer, but still the act has taken them as supplier, because idea is to facilitate the micro and small units, enterprises, so that whatever they produce the goods, whatever the services they are rendered, they facilitate them to enhance their capacity. Now, what is the requirement of these facilitators? At what stage they require to come into play? Now, see, government is one of the bulk buyers, and in practice, they will come out with the tenders, and the tenders are for the huge amount. But these micro and small enterprises having the small capacity, sometimes they find it difficult to participate in the tenders. So obviously they help, they come to these organizations for their capacity building. Now, how these capacity, how they, these organizations, these facilitators, I will call them, they enhance their capacity to participate in the tenders. So sometimes so happens, any of these organizations may come forward on behalf of these micro and small units. They may form a consortia of like mind. Like mind means who are producing the same quality of goods. And if there is a tender for purchase of those items, a small group is formed together, and these organizations, any one of them may participate in tenders on behalf of them. So they act not as a, in fact, if we lift the veil, we find that they are not the manufacturers. They are not the manufacturer, but
Great.
they still facilitate to enhance the capacity and the capability of these micro and small unit. So sometime I have found that they are mistaken and they are interpreted as supplier, and they are dragged into litigation, though some of the matters are pending in the High Court. But my humble submission would be that due care is exercised to see that what exactly is the, background of those organizations, because they are not producing, they are facilitating. So role of the facilitator has also been upheld by Ministry of MSME. They have also given the guidelines, because once the act says, section 29 says, these 3 type of the organizations, they are taken as facilitators, though worded under section 29 as the suppliers. So Once Act says they are the supplier, so there cannot be given any other definition. So some of the matters are still pending on these score in the High Court, and with due, process of time, some decision will come which will clarify the things. So, the clear meaning of these provisions need to be understood by everybody so that there is no litigation on this. Now, there may be a case where the matters are also pending before the court, and question may be asked whether they can approach the council. Obviously, there should not be any duplication of litigation. If you have already knocked one forum of the court, you have gone to the court, so you cannot agitate the same matter in another form, that is before the Industrial Facilitation Council. So
which
this
means, if Anil ji, if I may ask, अगर इस चीज को मैं थोड़ा क्लैरिफाई करना चाहूँ कि आपका कहना है कि अगर कोई व्यक्ति, अगर कोई माइक्रो स्मॉल एंटरप्राइज कोर्ट के पास चला गया है और फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल के पास नहीं गया है, तो वो एक ही रास्ता अपना सकता है, या कोर्ट का या फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल का। अगर एक बार वो कोर्ट में अगर चले गए हैं तो फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल वो दो जगह से अपने ऑर्डर नहीं ले सकते।
करेक्ट सर, क्योंकि ये मल्टीप्लिकेशन होगी, वेस्टेज ऑफ टाइम होगा। अगर वो पहले ही ऑलरेडी कोर्ट को चले गए हैं तो दे कैन नॉट गो टू इंडस्ट्रियल फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल।
पर एक बड़ी ही इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है अनिल जी, जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे कि अवेयरनेस नहीं है इस पर्टिकुलर इस MSMED एक्ट के बारे में। तो अगर हम ये देखें कि कोई चीज जो है टाइम बार्ड हो जाती है
जी, और
सडनली उसको पता चलता है कि एक ऐसा भी जरिया निकाला है, एक ऐसा भी रास्ता सरकार ने निकाला है कि MSMED एक्ट के तहत मैं फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल के सामने जाकर भी अपना कुछ अनुरोध कर सकता हूं, अपना केस दायर कर सकता हूं, तो क्या वो जो टाइम बार्ड मैटर है वो फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल के सामने भी लगेगा क्या?
देखिए सर, फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल में उन्होंने क्लियर किया है कि जो भी प्रोसीडिंग्स होंगी बिफोर इंडस्ट्रियल फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल, दे आर टेकन अप अंडर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द आर्बिट्रेशन एंड कंसिलिएशन एक्ट 1996। अब सेक्शन 43 ऑफ आर्बिट्रेशन एंड कंसिलिएशन एक्ट ये कहता है लिमिटेशन एक्ट इज एप्लीकेबल, लिमिटेशन एक्ट इज एप्लीकेबल। और लिमिटेशन एक्ट में एक सेक्शन है, सेक्शन 5, लीव ऑफ द कोर्ट, लीव ऑफ द कोर्ट। सो इन केस द अकाउंट इज और द डेट इज टाइम बार्ड, बट वो अवेलेबल है इन केस ऑफ सूट। तो इन केसेस में IFC के पास कोई जरिया नहीं होगा हेल्प करने का, बट स्टिल MSM माइक्रो स्मॉल यूनिट कैन टेक एडवांटेज। वो IFC के पास जाके एटलीस्ट दे कैन मेक सबमिशन कि वो लिमिटेशन के दौरान क्यों नहीं आ सके, क्योंकि अदरवाइज डिसएडवांटेज तो है, तो दे कैन टेक चांसेस, बट देन विद इन द purview of the law which is applicable.
I had read a term called delays and latches.
जी,
लीगल जार्गन में डिलेज एंड लैचेस का अगर हम समाधान देखें कि अगर इसकी वजह से एक सप्लायर को बेनिफिट हो सकता है, तो शायद यही एक जरिया होगा कि वो बताए कि वो क्यों नहीं आ सका। ऐसा तो नहीं था कि वो जानते बूझते भी नहीं आया और आज सडनली कूद पड़ा।
सर लैचेस और डिले का मतलब ये है कि हम डेलिब्रेट या जानबूझकर कोई डिले करें। तो जिस केस में जानबूझ के डिले नहीं किया, वी कैन डेफिनेटली टेक चांसेस, क्योंकि फॉर लैक ऑफ नॉलेज अगर माइक्रो स्मॉल यूनिट सफर करेगा तो दिक्कत होगी। बट अगेन दिस हैज टू बी डन विद इन द परव्यू ऑफ द लॉ ऑन द सब्जेक्ट।
एक पिक्चर में सनी देओल साहब ने एक बड़ा अच्छा डायलॉग बोला था। हमारे डॉक्टर गुलशन शर्मा जी क्योंकि फिल्मों के साथ भी बहुत जुड़े रहते हैं, और आज एक हमारा जो काउंसिल है वो इसमें फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के साथ भी बहुत गहरा जुड़ा हुआ है। तो मुझे सडनली सनी देओल साहब की बात याद आ गई, जिसपे उन्होंने कहा था कि तारीख पे तारीख होती है मगर फैसला नहीं होता। इसमें आपने अभी बताया कि 90 दिन का एक समय दिया गया है कि जिसके तहत उनको एक डिसीजन लेना है। मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहूंगा अनिल जी कि मान लीजिए एक केस दायर हो गया, एक्सेप्ट हो गया, उसका नोटिस चला गया, पर वो 90 दिन के अंदर डिसाइड नहीं हो सका,
जी
तो क्या फिर भी एक बायर, एक सप्लायर को एक मौका मिलेगा कि फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल उसका पूरा केस सुने, देखे, जांचे और एक डिसीजन दे, या 90 दिन के बाद अबैंडन?
सर, एक्ट ने जरूर कहा है कि इंडस्ट्रियल फैसिलिटेशन काउंसिल को चाहिए कि वो 90 दिन में डिसीजन दे दे, पर मैंने बताया वो 90 दिन में संभव नहीं हो पाता, क्योंकि आईएफसी की प्रोसीडिंग के लिए उनको स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के डायरेक्टर इंडस्ट्री जो हैं, ही इज द चेयरपर्सन ऑफ आईएफसी, एंड देयर आर, आई मीन, आईएफसी के मैक्सिमम जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के 5 मेंबर्स हो सकते हैं इंक्लूडिंग द चेयरमैन, और मिनिमम 3 मेंबर होते हैं, पर बिकॉज ऑफ सर रश ऑफ वर्क वो पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाता कि 90 दिन में केस हो, तो टाइम ज़्यादा लग जाता है, 90 दिन से कहीं ज़्यादा, क्योंकि मेरा एक्सपीरियंस मैंने देखा कलकत्ता कटक में केसेस काफ़ी पेंडिंग है, नंबर भी ज़्यादा है, तो 90 दिन से ज़्यादा भी हो तो कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, जो डिसीज़न आएगा वो मान्य होगा और दोनों पार्टियों पर वो लागू होगा और वो फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। पर मैंने बताया कि बेसिक रीजन पेंडेंसी का ये है कि आप अगर कोई एप्लीकेशन कोर्ट ऑर्डर, आईएफसी ऑर्डर करता है कि डॉक्यूमेंट फाइल करिए, तो उससे वो डिले होता जाता है। तो मेरे हिसाब से कभी भी क्लेम दायर करने से पहले बायर को सप्लायर को कोशिश करनी चाहिए कि रिकंसिलिएशन ऑफ अकाउंट हो जाए, क्योंकि रिकंसिलिएशन ऑफ अकाउंट बायर और सप्लायर का होने में बहुत टाइम लगता है, उसमें बहुत टाइम लगता है, बार बार आईएफसी को टाइम देना पड़ता है कि भाई अपने दोनों आप अकाउंट फाइल करो। अगर दोनों के अकाउंट रिकंसाइल हों तो उसमें टाइम बहुत कम लगेगा, पर हो सकता है कभी कभी बायर जो है वो नहीं करता, क्योंकि बायर अगर नहीं हेल्प कर रहा है, कोऑपरेट कर रहा है, तो डिले होता है। पर फिर भी जैसा आपने कहा कि 90 दिन में होना चाहिए, ये लॉ चाहता है, ये एक्ट चाहता है, पर अगर 90 दिन में नहीं होता फिर भी ये अगर टाइम ज्यादा लगता है और जो भी अवार्ड आता है वो दोनों पार्टी को मान्य होगा।
अनिल जी, एक चीज और, आपने हालांकि बड़े विस्तार से सारी चीजें बताई हैं, मेरे पास केवल 2-3 छोटे छोटे प्रश्न हैं
जी सर।
जिसके ऊपर आप अगर रोशनी डालेंगे तो काफी सारी चीजें क्लियर हो जाएंगी। आपने कहा कि जो रिसीवेबल उसके हैं उसके गुड सप्लाई करे और उसकी वो रिजेक्ट नहीं हुए और उसकी बट पेमेंट भी नहीं आई,
जी
पर कई बार ऐसा भी होता है अनिल जी कि उसको अर्नेस्ट मनी डिपॉजिट करनी पड़ती है
जी सर।
या कोई और डिपॉजिट देना पड़ता है एज पर द टर्म्स ऑफ द पर्टिकुलर टेंडर और द अवार्ड विच इज देयर। टेंडर करते वक्त उसने अर्नेस्ट मनी जमा कराई, हालांकि स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेज आर एग्जाम्ड फ्रॉम दैट, बट कई बायर्स फिर भी चाहते हैं कि आप इसको जमा कराइए। तो क्या ये जो अमाउंट रिसीवेबल की डेफिनेशन में
जी
सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स की पेमेंट ही कवर होती है, या ऐसी अर्नेस्ट मनी की पेमेंट नहीं हुई या कोई डिपॉजिट की पेमेंट नहीं हुई वो भी इसके तहत
सारे इंक्लूड हो जाएंगे सर, वो सारे इंक्लूड हो जाएंगे,
वो सारे इंक्लूड हो जाएंगे?
वो सारे इंक्लूड होंगे, कंसोलिडेटेड क्लेम होगा। ये एक्ट में भी ज्यादा क्लियर तो नहीं है, पर दिस इज आल्सो बाय रीजंस ऑफ द डिसीजंस कमिंग अप ऑन वेरियस अवार्ड्स कमिंग अप, वो सारे इसमें इंक्लूड हो जाएंगे कंसोलिडेटेड क्लेम।
अच्छा, एक चीज और है अनिल जी कि जैसे कि एक टेंडेंसी होती है कि एक डिसीजन आया और उसके आगे एक अपील फाइल कर दी।
जी
एमएसएमईडी एक्ट ने एक बड़ी अच्छी एक प्रोविजन रखा है जिसके तहत कि उन्होंने कहा कि पहले 75% जमा कराइए और उसके बाद आप अपील में जाइए।
जी
तो क्या ये जो 75% जमा होता है,
जी
क्या ये अमाउंट एक एमएससी को दिया जाता है कोर्ट के द्वारा,
सर। अब इसमें
या वो कोर्ट ही अपने पास रखता है?
हाँ, ये बड़ा अच्छा क्वेश्चन है सर। इसका क्वेश्चन का मैं एक क्वेश्चन और इसमें ऐड कर देता हूँ कि
सर,
यार कोर्ट को ये पावर होगी कि वो 75% से कम भी कर सकता है क्या?
जी
ये
जी
भी
जी जी।
कि मान लीजिए हम ये कहें कि भाई 1 करोड़ का अगर अवार्ड हुआ है तो वो पहले 75 लाख जमा करे, ये भी शायद बहुत ज्यादा होगा। तो
जी
क्या कोर्ट की डिस्क्रिप्शन है कि वो 75% से थोड़ा कम भी कर दे? और सेकेंडली ये है कि वो उसके और क्या एक्शन कर सकता है उसमें, कि क्या वो अगर 75% डिपॉजिट कर देता है, क्या कुछ अमाउंट रिलीज किया जा सकता है? तो कोर्ट को ये दोनों ही पावर हैं सर. अगर कोर्ट सेटिस्फाइड है कि हार्डशिप, undue hardship will be caused to him by depositing 75%, then court can even order, IFC can, court, in this case in appeal, the court will come, the court can order, they can deposit by means of, you see, giving some guarantee. There can be given some guarantee by the defaulting party to ensure that if they fail to make the payment, the guarantee will be invoked. I mean, it is not readily cash available. The buyer may say, sir, I do not have the readily cash available, but I can provide the other mode, which will ensure that once you call upon us to make the payment, they will immediately make the payment. This is in place of the 75% of cash deposit.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
the question is, sir, कि अगर वो 75% deposit है, can this amount be released? Definitely. If the supplier is telling that I am facing acute fund crunch, and unless this some part is released to me, I will be no more. I mean, I will face a lot of liquidity problems. Then court will definitely look into that aspect, and they can order for release of some portion or little more out of that 75% deposited by the defaulting buyer with the court.
Thank you. Thank you. Anil, one last question. I'll just put it across to you. See, there is an award holder from MSEFC and the buyer suddenly अपना दिवालिया घोषित कर देता है.
जी sir.
Can this award holder from MSEFC gain any preference as a creditor in the insolvency proceedings?
Sir, this will have to be seen under IBC code, Insolvency and Banking Code, but definitely bankruptcy code. But now, as far as whether, now there would be a question whether the award holder can be taken as a secured creditor. That is the basic question.
Sir.
To me, sir, he will not be ranking as a secured creditor.
Okay.
Secured creditor comes when any asset is specifically charged or charged to them. So at least it will rank as a creditor, where the RP will come, that professional whosoever is appointed and by the National Company Law Tribunal, NCLT. So he will take care, but not necessarily the award holder will be taken as a secured creditor.
Well, thank you, Anilji. Thank you very much. The session is so very interesting and the questions are flowing in, but I understand our Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji has another session at 7 o'clock onwards. So while I admire his stamina, it doesn't give me any right to compel him to be going neck to neck from one session to another. Maybe, Anilji, we will like to invite you once again for another session and maybe some more queries now that it's you have so elaborately explained everything about this thing, but you know, we Indians are always very inquisitive about things to be asked. Acha, iska aise kaise hoga, iska aur kaise hoga? And when we have a teacher like you who explains so meticulously, there is a temptation always to ask more and more questions. But we reserve these questions for maybe our next meeting on the ICSI platform, because we have a host of these MSME units across within India as well as abroad who are very patiently listening to us. Our present president is from Thailand. We have quite a few people who are watching us from all over the world, from Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Canada, and the rest of the places. So thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time, giving us great inputs on such an important topic like delayed payments, because they definitely constrain, they restrict the flow of liquidity to the micro and small enterprises. I'm sure these guidance of yours will be doing a world of good to all these companies. And if we get more questions from them, we will be sharing them with you, and the answers which you would be giving us, we will be passing on to them. And if, with your permission, if it is convenient, we can even share your email ID to them so that you can guide them. So with these words, sir, if you can say some last a few words of yours before I request Dr. Gulshan Sharma to come in.
Sir, I'm honored with all these words, but I feel, sir, once micro and small unit, they become conversant about these provisions, they can definitely gear up their action. Wherever the matters are pending before IFC, they should make their concerted efforts, see to it why those proceedings are pending, get them expedited, so that once they have the award, they can bring pressure for recovery of their principal amount and interest on the delayed payment. And I'll be there, sir. If any assistance are required, I shall feel honored to extend my all, capacity and capability for the purpose. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Sharma sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
थैंक यू, नमस्कार अनिल कुमार अग्रवाल जी, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप प्रोग्राम में आए। मैं जानबूझकर हिंदी में बातचीत कर रहा हूं क्योंकि बहुत सारी युवा पीढ़ी हमारी यूपी से, उत्तराखंड से, बिहार से, मध्य प्रदेश से, राजस्थान से, हरियाणा से, बाकी जगहों से जुड़ी है। बिसाइड्स ऑफ कोर्स पीपल आर जॉइनिंग अस। हमारे भारत की बातचीत कर रहा हूं, विदेश की बातचीत वो उत्तरदायित्व रविंद्रनाथ जी का। मैं डोमेस्टिक बात ही करूंगा। मणिपुर से बहुत लोग जुड़े हैं, अरुणाचल से बहुत लोग जुड़े हैं। सबसे पहले जो युवा पीढ़ी को एक सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट कंसर्न है, जो आपने लिक्विडिटी ऑफ कैश की बातचीत करी। बहुत सारे बिजनेस इसलिए बंद हो जाते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट की पेमेंट टाइमली नहीं आती है। गवर्नमेंट की पेमेंट टाइमली नहीं आती है। आज हमने एमएसएमई की बातचीत की। अगर मैं अपने हार्ट की बात करूं तो ट्रैवल एजेंट्स हैं, टूर ऑपरेटर हैं, टूरिस्ट ट्रांसपोर्टर हैं, छोटे छोटे ढाबे वाले, रेस्टोरेंट वाले, और कुछ एक और हॉस्पिटैलिटी और फूड बिजनेस वाले लोग हैं। उसी के साथ साथ रिटेल के कुछ एक लोग हैं, कुछ और उद्यमी लोग हैं। मेरे को रविंद्रनाथ जी के साथ मिलकर इस यात्रा में एक शब्द नया मिला। मैं शिक्षा और कौशलता की बातचीत करता था, इन्होंने उसमें एक धक्का लगा दिया, उद्यमिता भी जोड़ दिया। तो अब हो गया है शिक्षा, कौशलता एंड उद्यमिता। तो इन्होंने कहा कि इसको भी साथ जोड़ दो। मैं उसको दूसरे ढंग से जोड़ा करता था, E3 कॉन्सेप्ट, एजुकेशन फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप। लेकिन इन्होंने दूसरा सवाल मेरे लिए उठाया, एजुकेशन किस लिए, एजुकेशन का आउटकम क्या है, बच्चे को क्या स्किल लेनी चाहिए, क्या कॉम्पिटेंसी लेनी चाहिए। आज कुछ प्रश्न हम इसलिए नहीं ले पा रहे हैं क्योंकि समय की कमी है, लेकिन बहुत सारी चीजें हमारे विजन में, हमारे जहन में, हमारे दिमाग में घूम रही हैं। यंगस्टर्स की भी हैं। आज एक मेनन साहब हैं जिन्होंने बहुत एक्टिव पार्टिसिपेट किया है यूट्यूब के ऊपर। उनके बहुत सारे सजेशंस आए हैं, इनपुट्स आए हैं, मैं उनका बहुत धन्यवादी हूं। जूली सुब्बा मैम के बहुत सारे इनपुट्स हैं मणिपुर से, मैं उनका धन्यवादी हूं। न्योदू मैम जुड़ी हैं अरुणाचल प्रदेश ईटानगर से, मैं उनका धन्यवादी हूं। उनके अलावा और बहुत सारे लोग जुड़े हैं, पठानकोट से एक जुड़े हैं, उनके बालकृष्ण जी, मैं उनका बहुत धन्यवादी हूं। इस तरीके से बहुत सारे लोगों ने अपने इनपुट्स दिए हैं। मेरे पास 3-4 चीजें हैं जो मैं आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूंगा। और अगर डॉक्टर चित्रा कपूर इस प्रोग्राम को देख रही हैं तो आपसे भी एक निवेदन करना चाहूंगा। अगले सप्ताह से जब हम इस प्रोग्राम के लिए आए तो आपकी 2 स्लाइड जरूर आनी चाहिए कि एमएसएमई की जो गवर्नमेंट की वेबसाइट का पोर्टल है, जो मेन पोर्टल है, वो हम लोगों को जरूर दिखाएं। नंबर 2, पूरे सप्ताह में एमएसएमई के अंदर क्या क्या हुआ उसको लेकर आए ताकि युवा पीढ़ी को आगे पता लगे। नंबर 3, जो थर्ड पार्ट है, ये क्या किया जाए, क्योंकि आज इन्होंने बहुत सारे एरियाज बताए, बहुत कुछ बताया एमएसएमई का। अब मैं आपको बताता हूं कि चैलेंजेस इतनी सारी गवर्नमेंट्स के साथ हैं और इतनी सारी जगहों पर है कि पेमेंट कभी भी टाइमली लोगों को मिल ही नहीं पाती, कभी नहीं मिल पाती। अब गवर्नमेंट से इंटरेस्ट आप ले लें, मुझे नहीं पता, मैं तो हाथ जोड़ता हूं क्योंकि रविंद्रनाथ जी भी गवर्नमेंट अधिकारी रहे हैं, मैं भी गवर्नमेंट में रहा हूं, सब कुछ है, सारी चीजें। मुझे नहीं पता है अनिल जी कि सरकार के अगेंस्ट आप क्या कर सकते हैं अगर सरकार आपके टाइमली पैसे, आप तो इंटरेस्ट की बात कर रहे हैं। मैं तो हाथ जोड़ के ये कहता हूं, लोग मुझे कहते हैं हमारा पैसा ही दिलवा दो, वही बहुत बड़ी बात है भाई, इंटरेस्ट ना दिलवाओ। सो देयर बाय आई पर्सनली फील दैट देयर हैज टू बी ए मोर अवेयरनेस। और जो रविंद्रनाथ जी कर रहे हैं, कुछ वक्त ऐसा आएगा आस्ता आस्ता जैसे लोग जुड़ते जा रहे हैं, ये ब्रिक बाय ब्रिक रखते जा रहे हैं, ईंट बाय ईंट रखते जा रहे हैं, उस पे प्लास्टर कर रहे हैं और उस पे डिस्टेम्पर कर रहे हैं और उस पे इंटीरियर डिजाइनिंग कर रहे हैं। ये जो एक घर बना रहे हैं एमएसएमई का इतना अच्छा, जिस तरीके से हमारा संडे सुबह का 9:30 बजे का प्रोग्राम, जिसमें तकरीबन 60,000 से ज्यादा लोग जुड़ने शुरू हो गए हैं, उसी तरीके से एमएसएमई का जो भी कार्यक्रम है हमारा, वो कहते हैं हम तो बड़े हम्बल स्टेप में चले थे, बट माई आईज कैन सी and my heart can feel and my spirit can tell me that MSME program would be the most popular and most important and most forward looking program, क्योंकि हर एक को कुछ ना कुछ काम चाहिए और बच्चों को पॉकेट मनी चाहिए, बच्चों को कोई काम धंधा शुरू करना है, बच्चों को कोई स्टार्टअप करना है, कोई एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप करनी है, जो कुछ करना है, ये जो तैयार कर रहे हैं ना भूमिका रविंद्रनाथ जी, ये एक बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग फाउंडेशन है युवा पीढ़ी के लिए। हमारे टीचर्स, हमारे एजुकेटर्स, मैं आपको हाथ बार बार जोड़कर कहूंगा, हम वो क्यों पढ़ाते हैं जिसकी जरूरत नहीं है, हम वो क्यों नहीं पढ़ाते जिसकी जरूरत है, हम वो क्यों नहीं इंक्लूड करते जो हमारी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में जुड़ा हुआ है, जो हमारे जीवन के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है। अरे भाई, मैं इलेक्ट्रिशियन का डिप्लोमा पॉलिटेक्निक से करके क्या करूंगा अगर मुझे घर का बल्ब चेंज नहीं करना आता। I personally feel there is so much which is required, and MSME sector जो रविंद्रनाथ जी की धारा में, प्रवाह में, रक्त में, वायु में, शरीर में, आत्मा में बसता है, वो आस्ता आस्ता धीरे धीरे पूरे विश्व तक पहुंच रहा है। और ये जो एमएसएमई का कार्यक्रम है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा यूथ इसका फायदा लें, पार्टिसिपेट करें, जो भी आपके क्वेश्चंस हैं आप पोज करें, टीचर्स हमें सजेशन दे। मेनन साहब, मैं आपका आभारी हूं, आप जहां से भी आज के इसके प्रोग्राम में जुड़े, आपके सजेशन बहुत अच्छे हैं, क्योंकि YouTube का फायदा यह है, जो कुछ भी आपके सजेशन आते हैं वो हमेशा YouTube के चैट बॉक्स में रहते हैं और वो हमेशा के लिए अवेलेबल होते हैं। ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग कमेंट्स भेजें, ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग सजेशन भेजें, ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग एम्पावर करें। और अनिल कुमार अग्रवाल जी का धन्यवाद करते हुए और आर्मी वे में रविंद्रनाथ जी को सैल्यूट करते हुए हम आज का ये कार्यक्रम यहीं पर समाप्त करते हैं। और आपसे एनआरआईज के साथ रात्रि को फिर भेंट होगी 8 बजे। तब तक के लिए इंतजार कीजिए, मिलते हैं एक ब्रेक के बाद। और एमएसएमई इज द फ्यूचर, एमएसएमई इज टुडे, एमएसएमई इज टुमारो। यूथ, डोंट थिंक अबाउट एम्प्लॉयमेंट, think about MSME and think about future. Become your own boss. That's what Rabindranath ji is trying